Hello, I'm Trendy. This is episode 1 of Trendy Reacts, a series question mark of album reactions that I hope to be doing here in my VTuber, my Tiger VTuber. I realize it's a little weird. Everyone's like, "Oh, I want to see your face," but I got the leap motion for my hands. I got the AR kit phone tracking, so hopefully this gives some impression of my expressions. I'll share my thoughts as the album goes on. What are we listening to today? I am listening to, for the very first time, Inferno by Boards of Canada. It's the new 2026 album from them. I've not heard anything from it. I've heard people talk about it. I've heard a few people go album of the year, album of the year, album of the year, and I'm intrigued. I'm quite familiar with their 4 previous albums. Music Has the Right to Children, Gio Gotti, why am I blanking? Campfire Head Phase and Tomorrow's Harvest. I was introduced to them, I think it was very start of college, so it was right before Campfire Head Phase came out. A friend of mine introduced me to them. We listened to Music Has the Right to Children and Gio Gotti a lot. Thought they were super cool. And Campfire Head Phase holds a kind of a special place in my heart. Tomorrow's Harvest is really good. So I've heard great things about this Inferno album. I haven't heard 1 second about it. I don't know if there's a change of people in the band. I don't know if it's more lyrical. I don't know if it's a total change of direction. Is it a return to the first album? I have no idea. That's what we're going to find out. So let's load up the good old title here. All right. Boards of Canada, Inferno. So let me make myself a little smaller. Doop. Tuck myself in the corner here. And let's see here. 18 tracks. Oh, it's 70 minutes long. That is a long album. But knowing Boards of Canada, it's probably going to be really engrossing. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is close my eyes to this. This is beautiful. Intro track. Okay. Introit. Prophecy at 1420 megahertz. Ooh, kind of an Indian sound going on. That's a little different for them. It's almost meditative. Already more different than I expected. Ooh. Damn. This is such an eyes closed experience. Ooh. Alright, pardon for me pausing. Okay. Already really different than I expected. Getting Spangle sort of vibes from that. It's a kind of that Indian take. And if there's a great album by them, The Ineffable Mysteries of Spangle Land. And this is already feeling more like Spangle than I expected. The sound quality is great. I just got some new headphones and a new DAC that's kind of part of it, but I was listening to a few songs I know well before, just kind of dialing in the sound here, testing things out, and what great audio production.
I'm intellect. I am the truth. I am God, the ultimate resonance.
I am God.
See the consciousness, power. This.
Spooky. What is this noise? That 5 minutes, that really flew by. Holy crap. Yeah, I'm gonna really like this, aren't I? Okay. Hydrogen, Helium, Lithium, Leviathan. Cool song title. I just have to pause again. These noises, they're on one hand they're very like Boards of Canada-ish, like what I've known, and yet they're like faster. They're more confident to just sort of whip in and out of a sound. I'm kind of flabbergasted how much it sounds like Boards of Canada of old and how different it is. It's like subtly different, but kind of comprehensively different. It's been 13 years since their last album, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I just didn't know what to expect from this. I didn't know if they went more lyrical, more melodic, more ambient. They're doing this? Okay, let's keep going. Ooh! Nice drop. That's awesome. Really liking those drum hits. And such a satisfying synth tone. Yes. Yes. This makes me want to go into space. This is like... This makes me want to live in 2001: A Space Odyssey or something like that. Such a satisfying snap. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, what a nice let up, too. I just like... Oh. Okay. Gonna have to pause again. Wow. That was... I mean, when that drop hit and you just like... Those drum hits were really clean. They have like all the reverb up front, and then but it's not very reverby on the back end. Maybe that's not the best way to describe it, but and I kind of felt it in a good way, like pull my chest tighter, but then at the end it kind of released in a way that was like there was that chorus of like ah, and I kind of felt that in me. Like this is so effective at generating emotion. But I also kind of think it's just like, it's really good like gaming or kind of soundtrack sort of music. It is giving me Valve, kind of Half-Life 2 soundtrack kind of vibes. It sounds like Boards of Canada, and yet different. I mean, what a cool evolution for this group. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, I guess, sorry, one more little pause here. That Boards of Canada, like, synthy... It's almost like horns. It was here. I'm gonna go back just a bit. This sound. That sound, that sample. I guess it's not really. It's synth. It's just however they have their synth program to make that. It sounds like 5 trumpeters kind of down a hallway, but like, why do I think of if you could have like the palace or the temple from the Star Wars prequels, the spaces that were in those movies like just look huge and epic, on the Naboo, I guess, whatever, like the temples. For some reason, I just get this vision of like 5 trumpeters like a quarter mile down one of those huge temple hallways. It's so like triumphantly sad. It's epically reflective. It's a cool sound, and it also puts me in my. It's very 80s. I really like this Mark Isham album from 1983 called Vapor Drawings, and he uses that sort of sound a lot, but it sounds a little cleaner on this. Okay, Age of Capricorn. This kind of background guitar. Oh no. Okay, first, yeah. Interesting little background noises, kind of a little bit saw like, but like a guitar saw. And then, of course, this is going to drive me. They're just spelling random gibberish. Another Boards of Canada trademark. My brain's going to try to make too much sense of this. I got to turn my brain off. What's going on?
I'm a sinner.
Oh. Sorry, so there's some spoken word thing starting, but like, there's almost like a pop song trying to break out in the back of this one, which is really interesting. In the background, here I'm gonna go back a little bit. What is this? It's that sounds like if you kind of took away this sort of spacey noise and this sort of random lettering, and you just kind of boil it back to that melody. It's like that's one of the poppiest things I've ever heard from Boards of Canada. How interesting.
I'm a sinner. All have sinned. You bore my sins. You shed your blood for me to cleanse me. I receive you and your shed blood for remission of my sins. Come into my heart. Save me now. Help me to be ready for your return. In your name, I pray this.
Okay, I wanted to pause slightly earlier there, but this voice that's kind of speaking and almost like it's pretty it's very intimate. It's like almost in your ear. He's kind of like he's very close to you and just like, hey, I'm talking to you. And there's more meaning to it, and yet it's still a little meaningless. Like, I bear your sins, Capricorn. I'm reminded. I've been listening to In the Airplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel quite a bit lately, and the thing with that album is kind of like a lot of it doesn't make a whole lot of literal sense, and yet when you listen to it, you feel like there's like another plane of significance to it all. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this track. I mean, this album so far, but this one in particular is just sort of like there isn't much meaning in a literal sense, and yet just using like little key phrases combined with the music is making me go like, oh, this feels significant. It also reminded me of something else, so I'm going to go back a tiny bit.
Help me to be ready for your return. In your name, I pray this.
Oh, I remember. Another thing that it reminds me of is kind of the spoken word thing. William Shatner's Has Been album from 2004. There's That's Me Trying. It's reminding me of that. Or no, that actually is reminding me that it hasn't happened yet. Which is, I think, one of the most emotionally significant ones on that album. This is such a vibe.
I'm a sinner. All I've sinned.
You are somebody else? Is that what it says? What a great use of just like little word phrases. Oh, wow. Wow. I get why people are saying album of the year for this. Father and Son. All right, track 5. Love these drums. Bit of an African vibe. Ooh! Oh, yeah! Sorry, I peeked my mic. That was so good.
I love you, but I love the Lord.
More
I
religious.
love any physical being. I think that's wonderful. But then why can't you bring that same feeling home? Well, I hardly believe that your own father or mother or brother or sister would be your enemy. You're gonna call him a liar? No, I'm not calling him a liar. Well, I can do all things through the Lord. He can do it.
All right. Again, kind of back to Spangle vibes. It's specifically that 2009 Ineffable Messages from... maybe it's the one after that. Anyway, reminding me of Spangle, later Spangle. Starting to get lyrical themes here in this album. There's been kind of touches of it about, bear our sins, and but this one's much more. I mean, first of all, it's saying a lot more, but just what a vibe of like, why wouldn't you bring that home, right? It's like I always took that as like, if you love God and you love like what you get in church, like why don't you bring that love to your son? But it's so vague, it could mean a lot of things, but that's just kind of my first read on it.
You saw the way we lived and what we did, do you believe? Or that I love any physical being. I love you, but I love the Lord.
Again, these lyrical choices. I love you, but I love the Lord. I love you. I love it more than any physical being. They're saying so much with so little. This is great. This is impressive.
Or that I love any physical being.
It just stops. Okay. Somewhere right now in the future. So this one's shorter. So it's just going to be like an interlude kind of thing. Just warbling in and out, kind of warble. Okay. Nice interlude vibe. Probably my least favorite on the album so far, but I'm sure it's going to serve its purpose, just being a nice little breather. Let's see, Naraka, track 7. Oh! This is like... This is kind of rocking. They're so good with these like bassy sounds. The way they have like a punch, but they don't like... Sorry, let me pause that. These sounds that they keep in, and it's not just one sound. It's kind of a common thread with so many of their sounds. They're having this like big open kind of reverby. And again, maybe reverby is not quite the right word, but it's the best word I have to use it to describe it. They're having this sort of big, open, reverby kind of impact, and then it gets there, and it just stops cleanly. And these guys are just masters of synthesizers. I'm trying to follow the little ticky pattern in the back and see how much it varies. I mean, it's kind of a There was a beat change there. What a great little backing beat. This like I'm not quite getting it right, but what a great, because it's not changing a whole lot, but it's just, it stays interesting despite not changing that much. Of course, now they've kind of backed it out. It's kind of in halftime now. I'm adding, okay. And now we're back to kind of a little bit Indian again, a little bit Indian. I'm getting just a little bit of a Hare Krishna sort of vibe from this. Hare Hare Krishna. Kind of thinking of George Harrison here. There's something very celebratory about this. Even though it kind of has this underlying Boards of Canada kind of darkness. And I love this very 80s like guitar, like chings. Those are nice. What a groove! What a groove! Wow. 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 Wow, I'm actually kind of... Whoa, I don't know where that hit me. I'm kind of moved to tears. That really just kind of came out of nowhere in the last, like, 20 seconds of that song. I just felt this, like, lightness across my chest. That was... Wow. Wow, I just kind of had a little, like, mini religious experience there. Oh my god. Wow, that actually made tears come to my eyes. But yeah, this religiosity seems to be woven throughout this. I mean, prophecy at 1420 megahertz. That's, you know, prophecy is a very religious word. Father and Son was definitely had a lot of religious ideas in it. I think they were more of a Western religious tradition, and I felt Father and Son was actually kind of critical of the Western religious tradition, kind of, you know, these concepts of like, I love this thing that isn't real or I can't see more than anything physical, and if you love God, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but then, you know, why don't you love me like that? Why are you calling me a liar? Stuff like that. And to me, in Father and Son, I got all this conflict between the kind of demands of being in a church or like a religious affiliation, and like, if you're elevating yourself in that sphere, why aren't you bringing it into the world? And this Naraka song is like very in the world. It's like, this is what religion kind of feels like when you stop walling it in a church. I'm probably putting too much into it, but these are just my feelings on the vibes and sort of, I say lyrics, but samples. I don't quite know what to call Boards of Canada. But the last 30 seconds of that song actually just brought tears to my eyes in like a beautiful way. Okay, let's finish that up and get into Acts of Magic, which looks short. See, probably another interlude, or what is this? Cool. have thoughts. Let's see where. I'll see where this goes. Kind of terrifying. This is kind of terrifying. So. Okay, scare. Oh, and like flies buzzing. Okay, that. It to me that sounded like helicopter blades, and had a very dark sound, like going to war, very dystopian. And the first thing that actually came to, well, two things came to mind. One was Lateralis by Tool. The kind of staticiness kind of remind me of the track, the Faip du Oad, or however you pronounce it. That kind of track at the end. That's like that guy being like paranoid, like Area 51, aliens, blah, blah, blah. Which always like scared the shit out of me when I was younger. It's like genuinely one of the most terrifying like pieces of, you know, music, if you can call it that. The other thing it reminded me of was the 80s Schwarzenegger movie Running Man. Specifically, I mean, the vibe was that very dystopian world. But again, the helicopter blades, and if you remember that movie, it starts with Schwarzenegger in the helicopter, like going to the food riots, and he's like, and he's ordered to shoot like all the people who are hungry at the food riot in Bakersfield, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna harm these people, like they just want food, like for God's sakes, I'm gonna turn this around. And then he's like removed from command, and like the other guy like restrains him, like, hold Richards and do your orders. And then they, you know, he ends up going on the Running Man show, and they like switch the whole script on him and say that he was the butcher of Bakersfield when actually he was the good guy the whole time, and blah 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 blah. Anyways, that's what that song put me in mind of, like this dystopian, like, here come the gunships, here come the helicopters, they're gonna do something horrible. Yeah, that's kind of a scary piece of music, a little interlude there. Okay, so into Memory Death, track 9. Okay, we got this beep, which reminds me of kind of a hospital beep. And we got the flies buzzing sound, which sounds like destitution, decay. Is this going to be hopeful? Is this a new dawn? It's leaving me in limbo. This is leaving me in limbo. Like, and again, the beep, it kind of gives a sense of like you're in a hospital bed and maybe you don't know what's going to come next, which I guess would come up with Memory Death. Okay, so far, that track sounds like the feeling of recuperating in a hospital but not showing if you're going to make it. God, these guys are so good. How do you put so much emotion and imagery into... I mean, frankly, like a lot of this music is like a little bit repetitive. We're just going, and beep, beep. These guys are so good at what they're doing. This is making me feel like of a very certain intelligence level. Like, I'm just about getting this vibe, and I want to wrap my head around it, and I want to make it make more sense. But I can't quite. I'm not smart enough to make this make more sense. I kind of just have to accept the difficult to name, like, emotional feelings that I have and let them pass at their own time. And even if I kind of want to hold on to them more, I can't hold on to these feelings, but I am experiencing them. Okay. Kind of another long interlude thing, but I like that more than that other interlude that was up here somewhere right now in the future. The word becomes flesh. Okay, I have to say I have an instant connection here, which is Pink Floyd's The Wall. Don't Leave Me Now. It's Don't Leave Me Now. This is instantly, I'm just thinking of Don't Leave Me Now off of The Wall. Don't leave me now. Don't leave me now. Yeah, it's especially that in the left, in my left ear, it's that. I like how this kind of beat is building. It's just getting, it's slowly like tapa 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 tapa. It's getting faster. It's not like the tempo isn't increasing, but we're just getting more of like a double time feel. Clap.
The head of the embryo goes forward and the gut elongates rearward.
The embryo is forward.
Neural bulb in the brain region that infuse. The neural bulbs fuse to form new cells in its later stage.
Okay, I'm sorry to pause, but like, this is one of the boppiest Boards of Canada things I've ever heard. Like the way this is like, tapa, 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 it's got this urgency to it. But it's also really catchy, and the way they're cutting up these vocal harmonies. Again, it's like Boards of Canada of old, but they're having this constant confidence to be a little quicker with how they are manipulating these sounds and how they're coming in and out of these sounds. And when I'm saying sounds, in this case, it's like the vocal, like that, the speaking, the embryo, this is that, and what a great evolution for this group.
Embryo is already visible. Embryo with food and oxygen and removing waste. Cell division and vigorously beating heart is pumping blood throughout the complex embryo. Hold the cell in position.
Yes!
The blastoderm is still
It's getting bouncier.
many cells produced by repeated cell divisions while the egg was still within the farm. On the area called the feminine streak.
Okay, I'm sorry if my VTuber was doing all sorts of crazy stuff through that. I had my eyes closed for most of that and was just bopping around. Cool. That had so much energy to it. And it was just bouncing underneath the surface, and they stayed in one kind of pockety groove, but were so good at turning up the intensity just gradually as the song went on. That one might be kind of my tops as just like a single, in terms of just like, maybe that's one of the top ones I'll just listen to on its own. See what's next. Into the Magic Land. Oh. I was like, at first I thought this, like, that kind of sounds like an organ through a Leslie speaker a little bit. But then it has more of a guitar. Oh! Okay, there have been very few, like, kind of distinctly guitar-y sort of sounds on this album. A few songs ago, there was that kind of very 80s, like, ching sort of guitar sound. This, and I do really like it, that sounds like a guitar and a bass. That they haven't put a whole lot of... they haven't changed too much, and I really like how it cuts through on top of the synths. I'm gonna go back like 30 seconds. Love that. Love that. Bow. Bow. You can really hear the strings buzzing. Nice. Nice. This is just making me feel like I want to hear more guitars in Boards of Canada. As much as they are complete masters of synths, these guitar and bass tones that are coming in here, there's something grounding about it, I guess. I feel like I'm in a more real place with this. Which is interesting that it's into the magic land, and yet I'm sort of feeling this is less magical. I'm seeing kind of mountains and trees and nature with this one for some reason. But anyway, go. Oh, is that an EBO or... I don't know how they're getting that. It's almost like an EBO-y sound, but like an octave lower. It's almost like an E cello. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I kind of hate to pause it, but wow, that's like a landmark Boards of Canada track in my eyes. I think I could, for the first time listening to a Boards of Canada song, I had like a distinct vibe of like, I could see, 5 or 6 people on a concert stage doing that live without a bunch of pre-recorded stuff, a bunch of drum machine or whatever. It's like, I could see people playing drums, playing bass, playing guitars, playing keys, and making that sound like that. And maybe I'm stupid. Maybe like Boards of Canada does that with a lot of their music. But if they do, they're really good at disguising it and making it sound like it's more programmed and electronic and synthesized. That sounded like shoegaze, but like the next generation of shoegaze. Like we've like elevated shoegaze to like a whole new level with that. And music that like sounds electronic but is performed on kind of conventional instruments in a live setting is like some of my favorite sounds. M83, Saturdays Equals Youth, 2008. There's particular song on that album called Couleurs in French. It's like an 8-minute long song and it sounds like a drum machine. But I saw them live and the drummer's doing it live. It's amazing. Like stuff like that is some of my favorite stuff in music. So that felt like the kind of change I was hoping for. Not that I have been disappointed with any of this so far. It's all been great. But coming into this album with as little expectations as I could, besides people saying like maybe album of the year, really, really good. It's Boards of Canada. I didn't know anything else. I had a little bit of hope that they might be more instrumental and they might be more lyrical. And they might be more energetic, and that has been true on this album. But I think on that song in particular, it's really gone to the next level. So wow, I love this. And they're so good at the letdown, the kind of gentle they were gonna let you down into a cloud. We're gonna kind of give you peace on the way out. They're so good at controlling your emotions with music. Okay, what's next? Blood in the Labyrinth. This sort of drum, this bit of a heartbeat drum. It's not quite the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. Oh, I like this sort of like reverby side stick drum kind of. And more real bass guitar sounds. You can hear the strings, they're so fat. Back to these Indian instruments. Sounds like a little sitar-ish? Yeah. It could be a guitar with a filter on it. It feels like it's like going between a guitar and a sitar. The conventional guitar. Okay. Honestly, not my favorite on this album. Like it's really good. I think I probably got more pleasure kind of picking out certain instrument sounds in that one. The guitar, sitar, bass were really nice. Melodically, musically, structurally, it felt a little generic. I think this was probably one of the most generic ones on the album. It's a 70-minute album. Maybe this one shouldn't have made the cut. But hey, if this is like one of the weaker ones on this album, it's still really... I mean, the sound production's incredible. And it's still a vibe, and I still kind of felt like I was floating, and like you could meditate to this, so... It's still totally valid, but after the last one, a slight letdown, but that's alright. Let's keep going. Okay, what's next? Also, where are we on this album? Track 13, Deep Time. I'm hoping this one does something besides just being an interlude, because if this is 3 minutes of this, I'm hoping it goes somewhere. I like what's going on in my left ear. Okay, thank you. I'll take that. Oh, nice harp. Oh. Has just a little sprinkling of like a traditional kind of Chinese, Japanese, something to that. Just a sprinkle of it. I'm glad the harp came in. I was afraid that track wasn't going to do enough for me. Still not the strongest on the album, but I'm glad it did something. I could have used, actually, I really kind of would have liked a lot more of that harp. Maybe it's not quite a harp, it's a harp-like instrument. That could have gone somewhere for a couple minutes and I would have enjoyed that. Okay, let's let it go into the next one. All Reason Departs, 6 minutes. 6 minutes, 14 seconds. Just dropping down.
There is a magical operation of maximum importance.
We're kind of back to Tool Faib Duad vibes.
Initiation of a new eon. Before man is ready to
More late Spangle.
gracefully sacrifice is the critical point of
Ooh,
the ceremony of the crown that conquers
I like those sounds.
child.
Yeah. Ooh. Kind of watery marimba sound. Ooh, and then it kind of blends into guitars. And that percussion in the background. They're doing a great job of interweaving these. They're just blending between like completely different styles of instruments in a way where you can't quite tell where one stops and another starts. But it's like marimba, percussion, guitar. I want this track to go nuts. Oh, that's a fun change. Ooh, bendy. It's like. I love kind of bending things like that. You get a little bit of a microtonality, atonality when you sort of turn the knob. The bass is so rich. What a satisfying kind of lower mid-range on this album. I really enjoy these weird little chromatic like semi-runs. Kind of blat, 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 blat. Fun sounds. Alright, hold on. I'm going to pause this about a minute from the end. So far this track, and maybe it will still do it, I kind of have kept hoping, because they have this sort of way in their audio production of kind of wrapping things in a bit of a fuzzy blanket. This whole track feels like there's kind of a woolly blanket over it. And what I want it to do, and I'm not sure it's going to, is sort of peel that woolliness away and have this kind of extra clarity that probably would come with a little more volume and a little more intensity. How do I feel about this? This track so far is a little bit like, there's been multiple points where I'm like, oh, I hope you will branch off from this and like do something else. And then they don't do that, so I'm like mildly disappointed. But then what they are doing is really cool. I'm loving these like, it's very atonal, very microtonal. Like they're hitting notes, but then they're bending them up and down in a way that's just being very atonal. So I do really like that. It's kind of like the computer console is alive, you know? Okay. Good. I must admit, since we left Into the Magic Land, I've been a little bit underwhelmed. I'm hoping that we kind of come back to some cooler stuff here in the last 4 tracks. Arena Americana? Arena Americanada. Oh, Americanada. Ha! Yeah, boy. By the way, as an American, sorry to the Canadians. I didn't vote for him. Ooh, I like this tippy 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 tippy. Good synth. Okay, I guess what I'm making more connections. This wah wah wah, this sort of wah, bass is reminding me of one of my favorite bass openings. I kind of like it to use it to bass test like stereo systems and stuff. From, of all people, Huey Lewis and the News, but the start of Walking on a Thin Line, which is one of my favorite bass lines ever, like boom, boom, boom. Ooh. That's got some kick. They're doing that. Da-da-da-da. Again, these sounds that sort of punch in and. Oh, that's so cool. You know, that actually reminds me of a little bit is that a blaster beam sample? It sounds a little bit like the blaster beam, which is Star Trek Motion Picture soundtrack, if you know that. Oh! Okay, hold on. That is like some 80s pop that just snuck in here all of a sudden. What the hell? I love it. Where is it? Yeah, this. Kind of Boys of Summer like. Just a little bit. That's some like almost Sunshine pop. A little bit Miami Vice-y too, just a bit. That vocal sample reminded me of Justice. But yeah! I'm loving this. I'm loving when they're bringing in more of a... That's like some pop! Another thing I'm really liking about this sort of bong, 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 like where it's coming in, it feels like it's not perfectly quantized. It feels like some parts of it are coming in a little bit early, some parts are coming in a little bit late, and that's so much more interesting than just being like perfectly on time. Constantly kind of teasing my ears with like how long or how short all these little yes, the sun comes out, the sun comes out. It's just making me... Boys of Summer by Don Henley. That's what I'm getting out of this one. Which is a great song. This is very Boards of Canada. In truth, maybe they overwrote this. They do overdo this just a little bit, sorry. No, okay, after the last few tracks, that one definitely was much more to my liking. I'm loving when they're pulling in these little bits of, like, sunshine pop and rock that are like, wait, this is Boards of Canada? And they're incorporating it in a way that's like, okay, this clearly is still Boards of Canada, but it's also different. It feels like they're broadening their horizons. They're refreshing their sound by going backward in time. The process. These natural sound, like people yelling, people shouting, kids playing on a playground. I do always enjoy this. I get very The Wall-like, very A Reminder by Radiohead.
Had shown them every can. The world will
water, or the reserve mast for dead mirror. There. Fifth quote was to burn Tristan all his atrocities. We. Noticement acquired, although they were refreshingly piped, and a rager without her road intricately stronger. Slothfully, elite would ever do the tilt off him? Between various Grecian bishops, it should be vastly seductive from their aromatic rider and define lest he has comprehensively induced him. Acoustically, this
Piano. I like this piano. I cannot make sense of what this person is saying, but I don't think I should be able to. I like that little piano in the middle. I wanted more of that. Oh, there's a little more. Oh, that's so nice. I love this piano. Oh, I wanted more of that piano. That's kind of what I'm learning from this album is like when I'm getting more of a real instrumentation vibe that's sort of in the mixture of like Boards of Canada synthy sounds and the soundscapes and the bass. It's that's really what I'm loving here. You retreat in time and space. Oops, second to last song, okay. This is a nice breather. Okay, good. I was gonna say, I hope it does something a little more than this, though. More real bass sounds. I really like it when you can, like, hear the string vibrating. In fact, for a second there, I think I could even hear the finger moving on the string. Those little natural sounds, really... They're better than just having it perfectly clean. Boom. You can hear the string vibrating. I feel like I'm floating in space. This is reminding me of the M83 Digital Shades, like ambient albums, which are beautiful to listen to. Oh, good. You got a little tippy tappy coming in. The shaker, yeah. You could hear some xylophone in there. That's a Boards of Canada sound I really, really like. That, like... Then there's a little... This kind of almost slightly funk guitar, which is reminding me of Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. Just a bit, just a bit. Whoa! Whoa! The guitar turned into a foghorn. I like that funk guitar, like... See, like the little cymbal taps, little hi-hat taps. Tap, tap, tap. It does have that good little... Who was that? Rogers? Okay, that was You Retreat in Time and Space, which was a really good name for that song. Like, that did kind of feel like retreating in time and space, so... okay, let's try... Okay, we're going to finish this one and go into the last track. You know, for a 70-minute album that I've like paused multiple times and like gone back a little bit, it's definitely been a super vibe that hasn't felt like too long to sit through. I saw through Platonia. More of that heartbeat sound. Bum, 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 bum. Little bits of white noise, little bits of radio static. Very ambient. That heartbeat. Kind of like the closing to Dark Side of the Moon. Yet another Pink Floyd connection. These little staticky radio interference bits in this track are kind of the most interesting parts. Otherwise, I might say that was... Oh, and then just cut. I'm just going to end on silence. Okay. Huh. That was Inferno. And it was really, really good. I think overall, I liked the first half up to Into the Magic Land more than the rest. Honestly, this run of Blood in the Labyrinth, Deep Time, and All Reason Departs, you know, I'm kind of a CD era boy. Like, I'm 90s kid, and in the 90s, in the early 2000s, they're like, oh my god, you could put 74 to 80 minutes of music on a CD, and everyone got so excited. I'm kind of used to albums that run like 50, 60 plus minutes, and a lot of people I know are like, you know, if they're from the pre-CD era, a lot of records kind of restricted albums to about 40-ish minutes. And that sort of 40-ish minute runtime, I think, has become more popular recently as well. People have kind of decided that, like, yeah, that's the right sort of run length for most albums. I'm generally pretty happy with a longer album, but this one, as great as it is, and it is really great, top-notch production, top-notch recording. These guys are absolute masters of tone, masters of synthesizer, masters of taking real instruments and bending them kind of as little or as much as they want and combining them in ways where they blend in and out of each other. Truly exceptional in that regard. As an album listen, I do like ambient music, but I'm not so sure how in love I am with having a bunch of sort of ambient stuff on a less ambient album. I guess I wanted this album to maybe pick a lane a little bit more, and maybe that was part of my expectations coming into it, that even though I tried to have no expectations, I shouldn't say expectations, I had hopes. I had hopes that it would be more melodic, more lyrical, and a little more energetic than their previous work, and a lot of it was. I think Into the Magic Land was probably the peak of that. Naraka, like, genuinely made me cry, in a positive way, not like a sad way, in like a happy, like, I feel lightness in my chest, I feel like connected with the world. Father and Son felt like a meaningful criticism. I guess that's another thing too. I started picking up a bit more of a theme in this first part of the album, and then it kind of drifted away and it stopped being a theme. It's overall really excellent. I might have trimmed a few songs from this if I were Boards of Canada, but I'm absolutely going to add like the whole thing to my collection. Thinking about individual tracks, I'm going to go back really quick. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, leviathan. Yes. Okay, that's definitely like an individual track. Father and Son, I think was just really interesting. Naraka was beautiful. How was the words become flesh? That one's cool. That one was cool. And Into the Magic Land, and Arena America Canada. I think so. I think that represents sort of like those would be the songs that I would pick up as just like random singles and be like, I could listen to Into the Magic Land and then go to another song. I could listen to Father and Son and go to another song. I can go listen to Naraka and go to another song from another, album on another band or something. I would definitely be happy to listen to this whole album all the way through again. I could definitely see this being the sort of album that I would listen to maybe as more in the background of playing video games, whether alone or with friends. It's truly exceptionally produced and recorded, and it really is such an interesting evolution of Boards of Canada's sound. As I said, I feel like they evolved and they expanded their repertoire, and they sort of put themselves into the future by pulling from the past. I mean, what sort of connections did I make? Pink Floyd's The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, even for a moment Huey Lewis, which is like, where are you getting that from? Don Henley, Boys of Summer. There were some other sounds that were just sort of generic. I couldn't pin it to one particular artist or album or song, but sort of 80s guitar strikes, some sort of sunshiny pop-ish sounds that felt sort of late 80s to me. And then again, and also world stuff, several songs would kind of play with some Indian influence, and there was some African influence in here. There was, what was that one that I said had, was it Acts of Magic? Oh no, that was that really terrible. Oh yeah, that was, if there was one track in my listening history in life that came up multiple times in this, Faib Dioad. Here, I have Lateralis right here, pardon me. I have Lateralis right up here. How do you pronounce that? Track 13 on Lateralis, Faip space DE space OIAD. That final track off Lateralis, I feel like there was like 3 different moments on this album where I'm like, I'm listening to that Tool track again. Which is a compliment, because this album's so good at bringing in emotion. That Tool track is one of the most terrifying pieces of musical art that I think exists, and it really, really gets to me in a way that like scares but fascinates me. So it's a high compliment. But yeah, this album is like this melding of several things that came before with the Boards of Canada sound into something that feels fresh yet timeless. So I get people saying album of the year. I do get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Oh, the other connection is, of course, Spangle. Lots of Spangly sounds on here, and quite a few M83-ish sounds. Particularly, I feel I connected the more ambient stuff to the M83 ambient albums. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to listen to this one quite a bit. Really cool. Listen. This was my first time doing album reaction. I hope it was good. Hopefully it'll come together in an edit. Thank you. If you didn't kind of notice as I was doing that, I was also tweaking some VTuber settings. So hopefully as it went on, I became a little more expressive. I'll continue to tweak that so I'm a little more interesting to watch. But yeah, this was Trendy Reacts, Episode 1, Inferno by Boards of Canada. It was great. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.